In this video, we're going to create the collisions between the knife and the enemy. We are also going to create the experience gem and a little animation that will play when the player defeats the enemy. So let's go ahead and create another node. It's going to be an animated sprite 2D. And in here, we are going to rename this. I'll call it explosion. We're going to give it an animation sprite frames. And then for the default, I'm going to drag these 4 in. So these explosion ones. I'm going to turn off looping and hit automatic. So what this is going to do when this gets created, it's going to play this animation once. Then we'll go node. I'm going to link up. Oh, I need to give it a script. So let's save it. Save it into scenes, explosion, save. And I'm going to give it a very simple script. I can actually delete these things here. All we're going to do is go signal for this animation. When the animation is finished, connect it to here, and then just put Q3. So that's it. Now on the enemy golem, we need to have a collision. And in fact, we're just going to have a function called die. Call it enemy die. And then this function is going to create an experience cube and create an explosion. First thing it's going to do is delete itself. Now we need to get a reference to this explosion at the top here. I'm going to close my sprites panel over here. And I'm going to get a reference to this. The easiest way to do this, if you see me drag things on, is to make sure you've got nothing selected over here, and then hold control and drag the thing you want, and it will give you a reference to it. So now down here, we're going to say var new explosion equals explosion.instantiate new explosion dot global position equals global position. That's the global position of the enemy. There we go. And then we're just going to say add sibling. That way we don't need to get the world new explosion. This is something I actually only discovered yesterday. I'm surprised I didn't know about this one. A student showed it to me. Instead of getting the world, a reference to the world, we can just get a reference to add it as a sibling, which will add it as a world because the enemy golem is a child of the world. So that should do it. So what will happen is we need to now check to see if we have a collision. So we're going to do this on the knife object. Now, if you remember, we put our enemy into a thing called enemy. There's a couple of ways we could do this. We can add a signal here, body entered. Link this up to the knife code. Now we can check if body dot is in group enemy, but we also want to check that it has a method, because then we might have some invincible enemies. And body dot has method enemy die. If these two things are true, then we will run body dot enemy die. If we try to run this and it's colliding with something else like the player or something, it's going to ruin it. So we can use this code. That means we only need to write this code once, and then anything else that has these methods, it will interact with. So we can test this now, and hopefully everything works. Oh, my thing is only going to the right. I forgot about that. Okay, that's not working. Why is that? All right, I think I know why. We go to the knife and we look at the inspector and the collision. That's on layer 1. It interacts with things on layer 1. But we don't actually want it to interact with things on layer 1 because the enemy is on layer 2. So let's go ahead and make it interact with things on layer 2. We'll put it on layer 1. It actually doesn't need to be on any layer, really. It's just going to interact with things on layer 2. So let's test that. I just realized my knife is only going to the right. I haven't written the code. Oh no, it does go down. There we go. Okay. All right, there we go. So it kills that enemy there. Okay. So later on, we are going to change this so that the knife does more damage. And we'll change a few of these functions around so that things happen. But now we need to add the experience cube. So let's go ahead. We're going to add another. This is just going to be an area 2D because we want to be able to interact with this cube. So we need a collision shape to go with it. And we also need a sprite. It's not going to be animated, so we can just use a normal sprite. This collision shape, switch to 2D mode. We'll go and add our sprite in. So our sprite for this one, I thought we'd use the blue circle here. There we go. And we'll add a collision shape. It's going to be a circle shape. Like that. Okay. And then that should be all good, I think. Now we're going to add, we'll call this experience cube. Oh, it's not really a cube, not a cube at all. Experience gem. Do it. We're going to add this to a group, and the group is going to be pick up. We'll be able to pick this one up. We'll have some code that will interact with it. And we're also going to add a script to this. We'll save it first. Experience gem into there and add a script to this. So now we need to have a few values here. I'm going to say at export var experience value equals 5. We'll set it at 5. Var collected false. And at onReady var player equals get tree dot get first node in group player. That is going to get the first node in group. This is a new feature in Godot 4, because in previous versions of Godot you would have to type get nodes in group and then it would give you an array and you just type 0 afterwards. But now you just want to get the first node in the group and that's fine. It's going to be the player. We don't need this ready code here. And we do need this here. So what we're going to do, we're going to write a little bit of code that when the player gets within a certain range of the experience gem, it moves towards them. So if collected, if player, that means if the player exists, because if the player happens to die and gets deleted, we don't want experience cubes to move towards them. We're going to say global position equals global position. Now, this refers to the global position of the gem. This also refers to the global position of the gem, but we're going to use a function to make it move towards the player's global position by 300. 300 is an arbitrary value. If you want it to move towards the, sorry, hiccuping. If you want it to move towards the player faster, increase that, slower, decrease it. Now we need a function here called collect. Collected equals true. You'll see what this does in a minute. Okay. And now, if we go to the player, we're going to add some stuff to the player here. So this video is probably going to be a little bit longer than the other ones, but that's all right. We're going to add in another area 2D, and that's going to have a collision shape on it. This area 2D is going to be called pickup zone. The reason we're putting it here and not using the body and the area on here is because we might have some power-ups that increase this pickup zone. If we go to player 2D, this collision shape is going to be a circle shape. And we're going to make it a little bit larger than the player. So something like that to start with. This is going to be the pickup zone. And we're going to add a signal here that when an area enters it, we've got this bit of code here. So now we need to check, well, what's entered it? What's the other area? If the area dot is in group pickup, well, let's do something with it. If the area dot has method collect, then we'll run that area dot collect. Okay. And lastly, we actually need to go back to the experience gem. So this is kind of, once you get the hang of how Godot works, you can do some really cool stuff. So on our player, we've got this area node. When a gem enters the area, it's going to be marked as collected. The variable is going to be marked as collected. It's going to move towards the player. When it enters the player's hitbox, we want the gem to delete itself and, you know, add some experience or whatever. So what we're going to do is add in that code on here. So we're going to add a signal to this, body entered. You know what the difference is between a body and an area? Okay, an area is literally an area node, but a body is something like the character body or a rigid body or a static body. If it has the word body up here, it's a body. So let's go ahead on body entered. And let me just switch to my practice project. Oops. So on body entered, we can get rid of that. If body dot is in group player, view free, delete the gem. And this is where we would add some experience. But at the moment, we haven't got that system in place. So this is where we're going to stop here. The enemy should drop cubes or drop experience gems. Let's kill them. Oh, they don't. Oh, wait, of course, I haven't actually written the code for the enemy to drop the experience gem. So let's go ahead into the golem and get our reference to the experience gem. So here's the experience gem. Drag it into here. And we just do the same thing down here. Var new gem equals experience gem dot instantiate new gem dot global position equals global position, and then add sibling gem. Now, we probably only want to add this every maybe 50% of the time. So I think we can do this. If rand I, let's leave that out for now, just because I don't want to fuddle around with the code and I'm not 100% sure of it. Oops, that's the wrong thing. Let's run this scene. We should have some golems appearing. Okay, so there's an experience gem, and you'll see how it moved towards the player. Let's just play around with this for a sec. I feel like this should be a lot bigger. Maybe there to start with. And you'll see what I mean. Now, what I realize is if I'm going down, as soon as I let go of down, the knife keeps going in a different direction, which isn't what we want. And also sometimes the enemies don't drop cubes. Oh, maybe I just... Okay, so they move towards us. It's a nice little animation. Ooh. Okay, and then I can do cool stuff like this. I get here, boop, boop, boop. And we could add sound effects. We'll add sound effects later on. But that's what we're looking at now. It's looking pretty good. We can through all these. Okay, now next time we'll have to add in some health and work from there.